Final content session of the AAC content stream. Got to tell how tired I am now. Anyway, the final session comes from James Perrott, who's head of strategy for Zazzle Media, and he's going to be talking about hunting the long tail, the biggest opportunity of 2015. Over to you, James.
Thank you very much. Hi, guys. So, hunting the long tail, I mean, you know, from Zazzle's perspective, we're a content marketing heavy agency. With a search background as well. We've recently merged with Sticky Eyes. I'm not sure if a few of you have heard them. They're quite big in the gaming industry. And us ourselves as well, we work with Mecha Bingo. So, you know, we understand how competitive this space is. You know, the vanity keywords still do have a lot of value. Ultimately, though, CPAs for those are very high. And for smaller businesses, it's a great place to start with long tail keywords. So if we go into it, so you'll be able to download this presentation here. So if you want to make a note of that, that's absolutely fine. So, how it was. Historically, in the gaming industry and every single industry, it was purely reliant on vanity keywords. So, the likes of bingo, casino, etc. There's still a lot of value, obviously, in those keywords, just purely because of the search volume associated with those. But people became transfixed with that. Ultimately, as well, it was able to be gamed by people, you know, using unnatural methods, which you just couldn't compete with sometimes. So the old way of doing it was, let's create a page and just send tons of links into it, and it will rank first for that keyword. That was a historical method. Used to work really well. However, Google got better. I know Jan talked about this earlier. And how they've done that was obviously through Google Penguin. What this does is look at unnatural links, and then it penalizes them or removes the value of them going to that website, and your website will drop or be penalized accordingly. But we're specifically looking at content, so you know, let's remove the Penguin element and look at this guy, Google Panda, and including some manual actions from Google as well. So the best way to demonstrate this is to go through some examples. So this is a big brand in the UK called INTERFLORA. This is their search visibility, and as you can see with the red circle, there's a massive drop. I mean, they halved in size in organic search. They didn't even return for their brand search. So if you were to search for INTERFLORA, they wouldn't even return. It was quite funny because some of their competitors actually then started bidding on PPC for INTERFLORA's brand, so they weren't even returning for that either. Quite funny. So why did they get penalized? You can see here it was a simple press release that they had done and a big blogger campaign that they had launched. It was around Mother's Day, so they wanted to rank first for flowers at the time. Obviously a huge, huge keyword. And with seasonality mixed into that with Mother's Day, there's a lot of people like myself, last minute, you know, buying flowers for their mums. So they did a massive campaign with a load of papers and bloggers, but the problem is that they followed the same format. So they sent out a load of bouquets and told their bloggers to link through to their blog and to their website through those two different anchor texts you can see in red. So to link through the word INTERFLORA and the word blog. This then replicated hundreds and hundreds of times is completely unnatural. So Google acted on that. Although it was a great campaign, they just executed it horribly. So this was someone's Twitter. It's sort of cut off a bit weirdly there, but so this is someone who INTERFLORA contacted to actually remove the link. So you can see here, then this actually then creates some really negative noise around their brand as well. You can see here the bloggers saying, they've asked me to do this. They've asked me to change the links. They're asking me to take down the links. And then I think the end one just says, yeah, I'm not going to remove the links. So the penalty is going to stay there as long as these people are keeping the links there. Because at the time, the disavow file wasn't around, so they couldn't act on it. So, but because INTERFLORA are a massive, massive brand, they did a huge cleanup process with Google, and they got revoked quite quickly. So second example, eBay. We work with these guys, so it was a bit of a misery when this happened. You can see here, huge, huge damage to their organic visibility. It was said to have cost them about $200 million a month, and this is purely because of a campaign they launched, again, around content structure. So this is an example. This is iPhone 5 case. It's a page that they were trying to create on mass scale to drive a better user experience. So if you were to just historically search for iPhone 5 case, their search listings would appear. You can see here how they've tried to change that and drive a better experience. So here you've got loads of different types of cases broken down into subcategories and just sort of drive a better user experience. But the problem was they didn't include any content. So this structure replicated tens and hundreds of thousands of times results in massive, thin duplicate content. So what we've worked with them to do is add this snippet of content here in the middle, which makes every page unique, different from the other, and explains to Google what this page is about. And they're slowly recovering now from this penalty. It all changed when Hummingbird came around. So Hummingbird entirely looks at how user searches have changed. So you and I will search for queries very differently to how we used to. We're just primarily used to search for vanity terms, so those big head terms, but now we're searching for long tail, sort of using slang in our searches, really conversational search queries. And this is where Hummingbird comes into play and why long tail is taken off so much. So how it is now is completely changed to how it was, and that's why queries have changed into two different types. So you have the implicit side of the search query, and you have an explicit side of the search query. The implicit is the keywords that you enter into Google. So you can see here, London tube stations. But then Google knows from collating data and whatnot that I am an iPhone user and I'm currently on, let's say, Oxford Street in London. So the search results that I get compared to any of you guys are going to be completely different because you might be in a different area of London compared to me. So the most nearest tube station to you guys would appear, not the one to me. So this is how Google are really starting to personalize search now. So because of this change, long tail keyword opportunity just holds so much potential, especially if you're fighting over those big terms with bigger brands that deserve to be there more than you perhaps. So this is a great place to start and win some customer loyalty. So this graph just gives you a brief overview of how this is changing. So you can see here on the left-hand side the keyword shoes. We have that as the vanity keyword, and that's associated with masses of volume. Then you can see the search starts to get longer. So men's leather shoes is the long tail keyword. And I'm going to go through a bit later as to how that sort of translates into customer purchases. So because of this long tail importance, now loads and loads of websites would just mass release how-to type content. So how to tie your shoes, how to tie a bow tie, etc. And all of this does have a lot of search volume. But because Google wasn't quite set up for it, it was rewarded and ranking really well. And, we're back to square one with how people were beating one another in the vanity side of things. So Google quickly rolled out an update that actually now rewards really good quality, in-depth, how-to long-form content. So we're getting there. So finally, long tail now has a purpose. And this purpose is delivering content to people like you and I when we had these moments of need, moments where we're desperately searching Google for how to resolve an issue. So these are called micro moments. I don't know if any of you guys have seen these. It's a big thing that Google are pushing at the minute, and it's something that at Zazzle we're jumping and running with now. We see this as the next step of content strategy and how you can start to incorporate this into that and attract some long tail searches. So here's the first one. So the I want to know micro moment. You can see here that 65% of online consumers look up more information online now versus a few years ago. I think that's quite generic. But 66% of smartphone users now look on their phones to look at what's just been on a TV commercial. That's massive. People are two screening now. Whilst they're watching TV, they're on Twitter, they're on Google, they're on YouTube, etc. So this is becoming massively important. The second one, I want to go. So, I think there's been a double in the amount of searches for near me. So restaurants near me, gyms near me, areas of interest near me. You might see now they've actually incorporated this into Google Maps as well. So if you're on Google Maps, I looked at this earlier, what's around this arena, and it's really, really interesting. And you can see here that 82% of smartphone users now using a search engine when looking for a local business. So being on Google Local is also massively important. Next one, I want to do. 91% of smartphone users turn to their phones for ideas while doing a task. The best example I have of this is when people are in shops, people are likely to spend more money on a different product whilst in the store. So if I go into the store for a toaster, I then see one that can toast 4 different pieces of bread at once, and I think, wow, that's amazing. That will save me doing 2 loads. I then will search for that, and I'm more likely to convert because I've just found that information straight away on my phone in the shop. As you can see here, 82% of users will actually convert by doing that. So 91% of people will actually look whilst they're in the shop, and then 29% increase in mobile conversion rates in the past year. Mobile is changing the landscape of content and online. And that is purely because the usage of smartphones is massively up. I think it was saw an interesting stat last year that now there's more mobile devices than humans, which is mind-boggling. And that now, because of that, Google are releasing a mobile-specific algorithm. I know Jan touched on this earlier, but they're looking to create an entirely separate index for mobile searches. This isn't going to happen overnight because if you think about the huge data centers they have just for desktop and just for what there is now, they're going to need to double that for mobile. So it's not going to happen, but things like you need to be mobile ready. So stuff like, having links too close to each other, your font too small. You need to really take this into, take it seriously now. And that is purely because the demand for relevance has gone through the roof. Microsoft did a study last year, and our attention spans has gone down from 12 seconds in 2000 to 8 seconds. And that's because we have data at our fingertips. We can instantly search, and that's what all these micro moments are showing. So if I search for something, go straight onto a search result, don't find it, I'm going to bounce instantly. I've got no loyalty to you guys. I'm going to go and find it elsewhere. And again, mobile is changing absolutely everything. And if you're there in those micro moments, when I'm searching for content, I'm going to be the one shouting about your brand in the end, or coming back to you. I'm going to stick to you because I know that you guys are producing content worth staying for, worth coming back for, worth signing up to your newsletters for, all those sort of things. So there's this other micro moment called in the moment. So when you're in the moment of, let's say, doing your hair in the morning, it's a routine sort of procedure. But you might think, hey, I'm going to do my hair differently today, and quickly just go on your phone. Right? It might be on YouTube, you might be in Google. These in-the-moment searches are becoming so more apparent. And I think I realized at like 3 o'clock this morning when I was driving to the airport, I actually didn't know my way to the airport that well. So I was quickly on my phone. I know this is highly illegal whilst you're driving, but I was actually Googling Luton Airport. That sort of information in the moment is hugely, hugely important. So 82% of people evaluate purchase decisions in the moment. That evaluation can be online searches, looking at content online, reviews. So that's a high percentage of people, straight on their smartphones, in the stores, at home, wherever. They are researching their decisions. 62% of people are solving unexpected problems in the moment. So that's a huge percentage. If they come across a problem that they don't know how to solve, over half of them are instantly able to solve it just by searching Google, instantly. 90% of people pursue big goals in small moments. So a good example of this is if I'm saving for a house or I'm looking at buying a house, I might be doing a load of work on my phone around my savings accounts. I might be using a mortgage calculator on the way, my commute into work. All these different types of content, huge purchase decisions and life moments are done in small moments. It's insane. So 91% of people try new things in routine moments. So again, coming back to the hairstyle stuff, everyone's looking to do things a bit differently. Perhaps, how to cook a jacket potato. I was looking how to do that last night. How can I do it a bit differently to just whack it in the microwave? I then worked out this awesome recipe on BBC about putting it in the oven, adding some chili and whatnot to it, and it was way too hot. This information discovery, you can see, hugely lies with 18 to 34-year-olds. There's quite a bit of a gap still, but not as big as you'd expect. I think, grandparents, parents and whatnot, they're on Facebook, embarrassingly, they're there. But we can see that the massive audience lies with the younger generation. But these are the ones, if you've got a load of persona data and they're within this age gap, then you need to be seriously thinking about this content. So we've gone through a load of moments, so there's even more. So the is it worth it moments, again, going back to the shop example. This girl here, she justified a higher priced item whilst in store. I think this is really interesting. People are willing to spend more if they're persuaded. So if you've done a really good review on your items or done a bit of video as to an unpackaging moment, I think I saw something on YouTube when I was at my cousin's at the weekend around these Kinder Egg openings. I don't know if any of you have got kids and have seen this. People just sit there videoing like 100 Kinder Eggs and opening them and then just putting all the toys together. It's insane. There's like 150 million views. It's ridiculous. So show me how moments. So I might have just bought your new product, but I don't know how the hell to use it. So I'm instantly going on YouTube, I'm going on your website, I want to know how to use your product. You need to have that content there to educate me, educate your customers. Time for a new one. So this is a great piece of content. So we all come to that decision where, let's say, for example, our car, we want a new car. Then we start researching new cars and new versions of our models. We all have that dream car. Once you've made that decision that you're going to make a new purchase, boom, you're instantly on Google searching for the relevant content. So it's all well and good me standing up here and talking about all these moments, but how are you going to do it? How are you going to capture this audience? So the first place I start, and we at Zazzle start, is looking at your existing content. So we've got a tool that assesses on-page content, looks at how good it is, and the few things it looks at are page titles, meta descriptions, H1 tags, URLs, body copy, IA, all of these sort of things. And it gives us a nice score. So you want to be in the 80 to 100% mark. This is an example we ran for NPower. And you can see here they score pretty much below 70-80% across the board. So for a lot of their key terms, so gas and electric, cheapest energy supplier, etc., their content isn't good enough. So we know that they already don't have the right to rank for these keywords, so there's no point starting with creating a whole new load of content. Let's optimize what you already have before we start creating new content. We can see here, so we've got some ranking correlations from this tool as well, that the average ranking for people that have a SCOT score of 81 plus, so this 80 to 100 score that I was talking about, have an average ranking of 10.5. And if you've got 0 to 40%, your average ranking will be around 23. And this is specifically related to the energy and gas market back in the UK. So this data is compelling. That's the first place for us to start. Again here, you can see then how this correlates out into the different keywords. So percentage of keywords and actually how that scoring is distributed. It's amazing. It's a great place to start. So the second place we start is we have a look at actually what Google is looking at. So we have another tool that looks at over 1,000 ranking signals. So it pulls in, I think it's 800 different niches, so fiercely competitive ones, gaming ones included, insurance, etc., travel, and it correlates this data. So when there's an update, we're probably a couple of days ahead because we're seeing this shift. But the strong thing that we're seeing is user stats. So average time on site, bounce rate, pages per visit. All of these things are becoming really, really important stats. So to have that interaction with your audience, to have those great user stats, you need to identify who your customers are. So to do that, we create personas through data insight. So I'm going to run you through an example we've done for GoDaddy. And this is all pulled from Facebook. So Facebook Audience Insights. You can look at your own brand page if it's big enough, if it's got enough likes. If not, compare it to a competitor's who you know has a huge social profile. We can see here that the GoDaddy Facebook gender split is pretty half and half. I was surprised by this. I thought, hosting, domains, websites, pretty male-orientated market, but actually half of it is female. So this was quite interesting. So there's obviously a lot of females involved in this brand as well. So we can see here we then split this female age demographic down against the average Facebook audience. We can see here what you want is where the green bar overlaps the blue bar, because this shows us that your profile is higher than the average Facebook's. So this gives us a strong indication that, right, you've got a huge demographic there of females between the ages of 45 to 54. So we move on. So we can see here then we look at their bios, what their sort of job titles are, where they work, hobbies, relationship status. All of this information is available in Facebook Insights. So we can see here, a lot of people here work in management, which is quite interesting. And then we've got the relationship statuses as well. So a lot of people are in a relationship, engaged, etc. What is quite interesting as well, you can see what else they're liking. So we can see here that Lidl, eBay, Samsung, Marks and Spencer's, it gives us a bit more of a feel for who that customer is. So the next part is looking at how active that audience is. Do they like just your page on Facebook? Do they like more than 10 pages a week? Do they interact with your posts? Do they like posts? Do they share posts? Do they comment on posts? Again, we can see that the GoDaddy audience is massively interactive on social. This gives us a good indication that, right, if we push content in the right areas, they're going to interact with it. So from all of that data, we can create a first persona. So Tom, he's 37, he's single, works in management, shops at Lidl, frequently visits like laddish culture websites. He's on Facebook regularly, and he's looking to find cheap domains for side business projects. So, he's looking for a quick startup, and if it works, it works. And if it doesn't, it doesn't. He's not that fussed. The next one, Justin, 23, works in IT, tech department. He's a gamer. He uses eBay to find computer parts. He's a gamer, blogger, vlogger. He's all over that space. And he also really interacts with Facebook posts, so he's sharing them. Next one, Simon. He's in a long-term relationship. He owns a smallish IT business, so he uses GoDaddy on mass scale. You can see here he uses Samsung, looking to find cheap domain for his business, etc. So the last one, and the most interesting one, is Sarah, 34. So this is one that when I first started looking at this data that I did not think would exist. But Sarah, who's 34, she stays at home. She's a mum from home, and she shops at MS. She's looking for a bargainer as well, so she shops at Lidl. And she's looking to host her own mummy blog. So GoDaddy is the perfect place to start for that, because I think they set you up a domain, they'll do your website, etc. So they'll take good care of Sarah. So from that, you've got your personas, and that is data-led persona creation. So they're pretty accurate. But from this, you want to create moment maps, and they are that I want to know, I want to do, I want to buy, I want to go. All of these moments for those personas. So Sarah, 36, the mum from home, you have to create those moments. You have to put your mind where you believe hers is, and those really big moments that are coming up in her life that you need to be there for. You need to be creating content for. There doesn't necessarily have to be huge search volume associated to it. You just need to appear at that right time. Obviously, with the introduction of mobile as well, you need to make sure that that content is mobile friendly as well. So, followed up by keyword research that gives you a bit of data into how many people are looking for those search queries, those moments in time, but don't rely heavily on this. You want to create those moments first, then follow up with some keyword research to expand on it. So, understanding those customer needs in the moment will just give you a whole host of content that you guys can create. Creating this content, again, it's not about competing for massive keywords here. You're competing to sort of deliver a really great experience to a person in need. When they're searching for that piece of content, in the moment on their smartphone whilst their kid's screaming upstairs, you need to be there. And if you're there, they're going to come back, because they know that you're a great source of content. They don't want to be the one that, is bouncing from your site because that demand for relevance is so high. So using context to deliver the right experience is massively important. You don't just want to capture that traffic and not deliver the answer. That would just defeat the point. So that article, again, has to be relevant, written in the right way, etc. So you've got that piece of content, and it's really cool and whatnot, but then if the rest of your website's really sort of, really old, it doesn't translate across to the rest of the website or the rest of the journey for that user, it's a really sort of stagnant journey. You come in, you read it, right, brilliant, I've just had a great experience reading that content, they answered all of my questions. You then go onto the homepage and, it's full of ads, for example. That's just not what you want to see. You need to translate this into the whole of your website, the whole of your journey for your customers. Measuring is, hugely important to make sure that people are interacting with your content in the right way. You want to make sure that people aren't just clicking and reading and then bouncing. Perhaps make it really easy for them to click into the rest of your website. Perhaps include some really relevant articles to that one, because you don't want to put up any roadblocks to your users. If you have a conversion in mind for that piece of content, if it's just clicking off to a different article, or you've got some really relevant products to your content, just nicely feed them into that content. You don't want to, put it in their faces, but just put it nicely in that piece of content so they can click out of that article into the rest of your website. Make that journey really easy and measure it. So this was me 6 months ago. I wanted a new television, and this was my journey. And I want to sort of show you how these moments sort of translate into a purchase funnel now. So how I would search for a new television. It's quite a high average order value, I imagine, TVs nowadays. I think they range from a couple of £100, euros to 10,000. It's massive. So the first moment I had was that, is it worth it? And that I want to know. So, and that is all to do with 4K. So I'm sure you've all heard of 4K television. I know Apple have brought out 5K already. That sort of defeats the point. But 4K television, what is it? Like, is it worth me investing more money for a 4K television, or will an HD television be absolutely fine? So I searched for this, and what appears, a Google answer box. So you see here, I'm not even sent to an article. I've been told by Google what a 4K television is. It's incredible, this. So you can see here, they've taken the snippet from which, but I don't think you can, you can just see it. They don't actually rank first for that keyword. A company called Tech Radar do. but Google have chosen a website that's not first. So this intrigued me, and I wrote a piece recently around this because it's massively, it's spreading across Google. Google are trying to, they know that demand for relevance is so high, so they've gone, right, okay, we're going to take the best bits of content from the web and sort of just answer the questions for the people in that moment of need. So I was given the answer of what 4K television was. I was happy with that answer. I then didn't have to click into that which result. I could have just left and gone elsewhere. So is that taking traffic away from you, your competitors, etc.? Because Google are just answering it for you with your own content. It sort of defeats the point, right, of creating great content. But no, there's massive uplifts to being in these answer boxes. So how do you get there? Does Google just decide? Yeah, pretty much. So Google use human reviewers. So Google have tried to do it with their own algorithm before and have quite badly failed. So, they've included just content that includes a keyword, but it's completely irrelevant to what the question is. So they had the answer, but the context was completely removed. So you can see why this context is so important. So they use human reviewers for these terms, right? They will search through generically the first 2 pages, right, on like a typical search query. And they will decide what is the best answer, what is the best bit of content to include in that answer box. So obviously you want to know what they look at, because it's all well and good me telling you what they do, but we've been doing this with a company called the Money Advice Service in the UK for a lot of financial terms, so a lot of benefits-related things, tax credits, etc. So we've been employing this, and we've seen a huge uplift in organic, and I want to sort of share with you guys what they look at, ultimately. So there needs to be a really succinct content structure, okay? You need to structure your content with the title wants to be what the search query is. So what is 4K TV? You can see here that which piece of content, the H1 tag is what is 4K TV. The really, really interesting thing is, you see this snippet above the video? This was the answer translated into Google answer boxes. So what which are doing, they're giving you a succinct answer as to what 4K television is as an introduction, but then they're writing, and expanding upon that in the rest of their articles. So they're giving you a succinct answer, right? Okay, I know what a 4K television is now, because not everyone has, I think we were talking earlier in the search panel, how long a piece of content should be. Should it be 500 words, 2,000? I think you and I can both agree, most of us don't have the time to read 2,000 words of content. So having a succinct answer just there, straight away at the top of the page, it's brilliant. It's brilliant for me, brilliant for you guys. You instantly know, you thank which for it, and you've got your answer. So I then decide, right, okay, I know what 4K television is. I want one. I want the crispest image on my television possible. When I buy these films, etc., I want them to be amazing. So I decide, right, it's time for a new one. And this is one of Google's other micro moments. So I search for 4K TVs. Currys appear. So a big company in the UK, electrical firm. The interesting thing that they do is that they further expand upon what 4K television is. So they give me a bit more detail without ramming products down my throat going, have this one, have this one, have this one. Their 4K television's landing page is information about 4K televisions. I found that sort of inspiring. They're not just after the sale. They want to educate me as a user as to what I'm buying. I was very impressed with that. So, yeah, I'm on it. I want to buy it. Just give me a 4K television. I want one. So I know I'm a bit of a Samsung fanboy in regards to like TVs, electrical equipment at home. So I searched for Samsung 4K television. You can see here that Tech Radar appear with 5 of the best 4K televisions of 2015. It was a long-form piece of content with a load of different reviews, but I found the Samsung one, and it was within budget. I read a bit about it. It's 4K, brilliant. It's 48 inches. That will fit under the stairs, brilliant. Right, okay. It's outstanding contrast, all these whatever things, you know. I'm really happy with that. It's in budget. I want it. So, but what I don't do is I don't view it at John Lewis. I don't know why, but my purchase journey is a bit different to that. I don't know if you guys would. I just feel like there's a bit of an affiliation there. So I like to just go, no, who's first for Google in this, you know? So I then search that product name, right? And I'll always do this just to compare prices online. I'm sure everyone does this. And you can see here there's a company called Richer Sounds, right? They're quite big in the UK, but my God, their website was insane. You can see there all the call to actions. They're just flying at me. I've got £150 off in the top left. I've got a 6-year guarantee included. I can buy in store. I can buy by the telephone. I can buy online. All I wanted was a buy now. That was OTT in my books, but I still bought it because it was a good deal. But ultimately, like, that is not a good experience. You just want a nice buy now with a few explanations as to what else you get with it. So my purchase has been made. You think, right, okay, that's probably the end now. We've delivered some really good pieces of content. We've educated James as to what 4K is, what Samsung 4K televisions there are, and he's made a purchase. But it doesn't just end there, you know. The acquisition's been made, yeah, but you want to look after me because I'm someone that's going to come back and perhaps buy a Samsung sound system from you next week. So with the new TV I just purchased, there are plenty of I want to do moments. Perfect example is connecting my MacBook to the television, and what appears? Another Google answer box. So again, if you structure your content in the right manner and think about these moments, Google are taking these really, really seriously, and that they can take traffic away from you. So if you create a comprehensive list of moments for all of your personas, then you're going to capture this added value traffic as well. So what's the conclusion of all of this? The Google search journey of me was very, very vanity-led at the start. And you can see I did my research, but as I went down the funnel, it was much, much more long tail. And when I run those long tail searches, I'm much more in the mind that I'm going to make a purchase. So it's good to be there for the education stage. So think about those moments, create those bits of content. But the long tail searches are where people are going to convert. So first thing, have a desktop and mobile friendly website. I think mobile now is massively important. So making sure that you're holistic with your website and being desktop and mobile friendly is massively important. Create some really detailed personas. You want to know who that mum at home with 2 kids is. You want to know her inside out. You want to put yourself in her shoes. You want to create all those moments that you think she's going to go through when she searches online. So map those out, whether they're I want to go, I want to do, I want to know, etc. It doesn't matter. Just map them all out. So the last biggest thing is obviously creating relevant, informative content that is mobile friendly and structured correctly. So that H1 tag, answering the question, the title of that page, answering the question, a nice succinct bit of copy at the top explaining the piece of content, explaining the answer, then go into your long form. Don't have the answer right at the bottom of your piece of content. That holds no value to me. I'm not going to get down to the 1700th word. I want the answer at the top. Thanks.
Does anyone in the audience have any questions for James? If so, now it's time to raise your hand. We have Mark at the back there.
Hello? Hi, James. When you created the personas, you created 3 male personas, but only 1 female persona.
Yeah.
Was that based in the difference of psychographics and their behavior on Facebook, or?
So, if I'm honest, I wasn't even going to create a female one straight from the start. So I had all of their customer data, so I had theirs, and that's where the majority of those male personas were made from. Then we ran the social data, like we always do. I think you can't ignore it. And that's where the female audience really struck out, but there was only one female persona from that social data. When we went into their customer data, it was very, very male heavy, and that no one really stood out. But the social data, this mother of two at home just, was there. And so we created that persona out the back of that, and that's why.
If I may follow on quickly, in terms of the male personas, how many different moments did you find that were unique to How many moments did you find were unique to individual personas as opposed to common?
Okay, so I think the main ones are I want to do, I want to know, I want to buy. They're the three main ones. I want to go is really important if you're a local business, offering local services. But for those big brands, they're the three main ones. So if you think of those three, then just map out, let's say, a minimum of 5 moments each. That's what we do internally for those personas. The bigger the brand, the more moments they're going to have, the more personas, etc. So it sort of multiplies.
What will be the title that you will give to I want to buy moment? Like how to buy? You will give the how to in the sentence?
Okay, so let's say that I want to buy moment, right? And that's the television in my mind, right? There's a whole load of different keywords that you could target with that. Again, you could go down the long tail product route. So if you know that there's some big products coming out soon, have that as a piece of content. Don't think it has to be the how to buy in the title, because in the user's mind, they're not going to be how to buy a 4K television. It's going to be 4K televisions, or you're going to be a bit more specific. Again, it's picking and choosing what moments you want to be at for your users, because if you're a very information-led, content-rich website, you can be there for the whole journey. But if you're short on resource and you want to really be choosing what pieces of content that you do, I would heavily go down the product-led route. So not the technology, not the 4K television. I'd go down like the best 4K television. So you compare like 5, 10 different televisions. So go down that route.
Hi. I always face difficulty choosing the keywords, because whenever I'm prioritizing the keyword, it's always a question whether to prioritize the search volume or the competition. Yeah. So if you are choosing a keyword like a long-tailed one, so which will you give the prioritize on?
Okay, so I think the first thing is, how big is your brand? Think about, the main thing that I always think about is the right to rank for a keyword. So what right do you have over your competition? Do you have a bigger online presence? Do you have a bigger social profile? Are you just more stores, for example? I think when you choose what keyword to go after, it's looking at the competition and that right to rank. If you rank very well for a lot of different keywords, you can go for it. Don't think about the competition. If you're a smaller brand and you have less of an online presence, go for the lower searches, because the lower searches doesn't mean that you're going to have less conversions in my mind. I think the more long tail you go, the more likely someone is going to convert. So it's striking that balance, not going for ones that have, let's say, 1 searches, but you want to, again, I'd completely almost remove search volume from this process. It's creating those moments, because everyone, as Hummingbird's coming out, I mean, these conversational search terms that you and I are now searching for, we might be after the same thing, but the searches are very different. So again, it's about it's picking and choosing. I know that's really vague, but I would go for depending on that right to rank piece.
Thank you for the answer.
You're welcome.
Time for one more.
Hello. Hi. What's the maximum amount of characters for the summary on the question page?
Oh, so that little succinct answer at the top?
Yeah.
I'd go for 3 sentences, 3 to 5 sentences max. So at the top, so that answer to what is 4K TV, for example, that doesn't want to be longer than 3 to 5 sentences because...
How long are those sentences?
I mean, that can be 150 words, 100 words, yeah, something around that. I think let's try not to put word limits on it, but because Google takes different snippets, so I can share an article with you that I've wrote. So if you type into google.co.uk how to save money, take that and do that afterwards, you'll see they've taken snippets from 100 ways to save money. So that is completely out of that, but it's what they include in that search box. If you can, like the analogy I always use, if you can explain something to a child what 4K television is, you almost want to do that on your copy. You know, you want to keep it really short and succinct and answer it and be really precise, not giving them the whole full-blown explanation right at the start.
But is the summary box of the same size in amount of characters every
so
time?
The answer boxes,
Yeah.
they appear to be very similar, yeah. I think the max that you saw was that what is 4K television. So that example I gave you for how to save money, they've only taken the first 3 tips. So it's always the same length.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Right, we've run out of time, unfortunately. But thank you very much, James. It was very enlightening, very enjoyable. Thank you.